Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika nakupenda sana.
This is Love SA through Bold Moves Radio. Your host NTSHEMBO MANGANYI. With me, as always, co-hosting is Moses NGOBENI. NGOBENI, it's a beautiful evening, first day of the month, June, and June is such a historic month in our history as South Africans, and we will remember that about 47 years ago, this month, on the 16th, marked a turning point for our struggle against apartheid, when our youth took it upon themselves to see to it that this cannot go beyond this point. As youth, we have to take the baton from our parents, from the adults, to send a clear message to the self-installed apartheid government. And the rest, as they say, is history. Most of what we see today is accounted for by the events of that month. But as our youth, young and our youth have always been in the forefront of many of the things that mark our country. About some few decades ago, that was in 2001, when you will remember that on this very day, we lost the longest surviving HIV/AIDS surviving child in the name of Nkosi Johnson at the age of 12. And again, his death marked a turning point insofar as perception against the HIV and AIDS pandemic was and is still concerned today. And there could not have been any other guest that we could have opted for today, this evening, than the guest that we have, that will reveal shortly. But NGOBENI, what would you say about this, especially the month itself, the month of June in South Africa?
Well, Kobot Mangani, you mentioned that I might remember 2001. Are you sure I wasn't born in the 2000s? Perhaps I read about it somewhere else.
I thought maybe from the first life, you had an opportunity to observe from there what was happening or could have been happening. So yes, you are much welcome to also share with us what you observed from your first life, if you were not born by then, NGOBENI.
No. I'm just pulling your leg. I've been long existing since then. I'm actually one of you, born in the 90s. I know you are a 90 yourself. People shouldn't be led by beard. In any event, a very beautiful evening to our Bold Moves viewers and listeners. We appreciate you once again for joining us this evening. We've missed you so much. It feels like it's been forever since we have been with you here. I remember the last time we engaged, it was the time we had Hosi Shilungwa Minga. From there on, we couldn't connect due to various other issues that presented before us. We're so excited to have you today. And indeed, it's the first Thursday of the month, which is the first. I'm tempted to say the way the setup is, one would be tempted to say it's a Bold Moves month. It's a Love SA month. It cannot be a coincidence that it's the first day of the month and it's a Thursday where on this very time and this very platform we meet to engage on that very pertinent question: what are you doing in your own corner to love your country? There's different forms in which we can exhibit love, different forms in which we can express love. And we look around for individuals whom in their own space and time and using their own resources are demonstrating love for their very country. So yes, it comes now again on the 1st of June, a month that is full of history when we look in the context of South Africa, a tumultuous one for that matter. But South Africa continues to be praised for its reconciliatory efforts and continued efforts when it comes to issues that when we're looking back at its history. So in any event, we are very excited. I think I share your sentiments that we couldn't have chosen a better guest to join us today and be with us on the program that is Love SA on Bold Moves Radio. Kokwan Mangani.
You know, Ngoben, look, wow, Volatan, you said something about people doing whatever they do from their private spaces, which takes different forms of showing how much they love South Africa. You know, what form do I assume to show how much I love South Africa? That form that I assume is to put on warm clothes because it's winter, to see to it that I don't catch cold. In doing so, I'm making sure that those that I come across and interact with, they don't catch you from me. So it's how I love South Africa. But there are those that love South Africa on a more larger scale, and such people are represented by one of them this evening. On a serious note, and our guest for tonight, our guest for this evening is Elvis Mashamba from Labastwako Kahle. Halaba khona 18 Tlhoraka Minga ba ile a H, not H, a H. Mashamba kensela ko mi dawle mananga masala ya hlangana mita mi kanziya hi vana n'wina emoyeni eka madyambu ya siku, amukelekani emoyeni, nongonoko Love SA through Bold Moves Radio.
Hi, Hadkesa. Thank you so much to the host of Love SA. It is my pleasure and honor, and I'm so humbled to be part of this program today, as you are talking also about a great month to be celebrated for all people of South Africa. And I would like to say to the viewers, thank you so much for giving us an ear to share with you our excitement to have such a beautiful country, which we have an opportunity to share information through this platform. We may take it easy that it's happening everywhere, but I see it as a part of another act showing that we are celebrating the month from today. Thank you so much.
There is Elvis Mashamba. Yes, I know we serve a very inquisitive nation. We serve a very inquisitive sector of audience, NGOBENI and Mashamba. And I love the intelligence of our listeners and viewers. I love the level at which they do the reasoning. And somebody might be saying that, look, it is Youth Month, but when we look at the guest, does it really fall within the definition of youth? And let me answer or help you by saying this, that there is no universal definition of what or if a person who can be described as a youth. There's no definition that is universally agreed upon. And in fact, United Nations at some point came to attend to this, you know, that youth is somebody who is defined as being at the age of, say, between 15, 14, and 24. But it puts a comma just after the age 24 or 25, that without prejudice to member states' definitions. So that tells us that, as some will say in Zulu, I guess, if my Zulu is correct, that guga itanda. So look, somebody will say age is just a number. So a youth does not lie with the age, but it lies with the activities in which you are engaged in. And that is the very reason that we invited Mr. Elvis Mashamba, because he embodies what is typically expected of a youth: energy, the vision, enthusiasm to see to it that this country does not fall into pieces. NGOBENI.
No, indeed. And I will try to sum up what you've said Kokwan Mashamba, our viewers don't know that today I'm that little niece who's sitting in between two grandfathers. So I'll be looking out like that in case ever there's trouble around me. But Kokwan Mashamba, what my host Kokwan Manganyi was saying here is that me youth, eh, me
Um,
Kokwan no
I won't deny that youth, it can be described only for an age between maybe from 1 to 24. But when we talk about youth, my understanding, it's all of us as we've experienced the life of being a young person and the experiences that we have gone through, and also the contribution that we have done from a younger age to where we are today, and how we see things and our contribution to other youth. This is very interesting because you will remember very well that we were so affected as people of South Africa with the journey of uh, entering to freedom. There was a bank education that has affected us, and all kinds of poverty that we've experienced as when we were young from rural areas. So when we talk about youth, we look upon ourselves, what we've gone through in the country and where we are today, and also our dream to see other young people to better their life, not to be like where we are coming from. So, with all the dreams that we have for the young people, it really make us one. So I still feel I feel very young. I feel like I'm 20 because I remember things that happened while I was 20 as it's like it happened yesterday. Thank you so much.
Okay, that is Elvis Mashamba, our guest for tonight. And perhaps just to go back a bit before we can run into the core of our business for the day. This, as I must say, it was a way of breaking the ice. Mr. Mashamba, if you were to take us back to the little Elvis, where he grew up, where he was born, grew up, and possibly if he looked after a head of cattle, like many would have that opportunity at far-flung rural villages. What would you say about those circumstances under which Elvis grew up?
So interesting question. It's an interesting question. Uh, I grew up in a village where things were very difficult. When we look at during our times where I started my primary level at around 80s and at the beginning of 90s, you will know very well that in our country, we had not even a proper qualified teachers. This has cost us a lot because the foundation of our education was not proper. And with, with that challenge, it has affected us even the time we went to our in the high school level. And because we had no help that we got to close up the gap that we had from primary level, we had serious challenges even on how we perform at school, our English communication and writing skills, and also the environment was not conducive. If you check the type of schools that we attended, the environment was not conducive. So we lived in a situation which was very difficult. Also, we had no high school in the community where I was born in Carbon Block Age. You had to travel some few kilos to reach the high school. So some families where they afforded, they would buy bicycles. Some will use, but it was rare to see others, those who are using some mobiles, like motor vehicles and other things. But majority of us, we will walk for kilos to reach the high school. But I fell under one of the person who had a bicycle to ride to school, which was not also easy because it was far. So with all these experiences where we went through, it was not easy. That's why when we talk about youth and the difficulties that happens to youth in our country, I understand very well where we are coming from. And the unfortunate part, there is no lot of improvement until today. You will see some challenges because as I'm still speaking now, the children in our community are still traveling a long distance to reach high school. Sometimes when you travel, when you reach the first class 7:30 in the morning, you are even exhausted to sit and listen to the teacher because you traveled a long distance. So this is a sum of challenges which I said I see myself as youth because I think of these things as like it happened yesterday. And
That is
I'm so happy to have an opportunity to talk about it. This is a life that I lived, and thank you so much.
Elvis Mashamba, our guest for tonight, that you have to hear more about. But before we get on to let you know more about what he has in store for us, we have to take a commercial break because we've got a couple of bills that we need to settle in order to be able to continue with this program into the future. Buisa Soke Emavengelin Hirna Elvis Mashamba, our guest for this evening, and he has just indicated to us how things were as he grew up throughout his primary level of schooling, and we have no doubt that the similarity between the primary and the high school level of education shouldn't be that different from each other. And therefore, we'll take this opportunity to say, Mr. Mashamba, let's go straight into your tertiary institution. As I said, that there shouldn't be that much difference between how you continued into high school compared to what you went through at primary school. Now, going straight into tertiary institution, take us into the institution that you went to further your studies and what you studied for at that institution.
Thank you so much. Yes, through God's grace, I managed to pass my grade 12 with exemption, and I was registered at Tefluop, the former University of the North. Currently, it's called the University of Limpopo, which is in Makweng in Limpopo. I was registered for LLB degree, which is a 4-year degree, honors degree. That's what I've done. I've registered for LLB degree, as I've already indicated, from historical disadvantaged family with all the struggles at the varsity. but I've managed to complete my uh, educational level, my degree, in 2006. And I was awarded with my certificate of Bachelor of Law in May 2007. So I would like to say that, but with all the struggles, it was not easy. It was not easy, but things became better when there was the introduction of NSFAS, which they were helping halfway to pay some fees. But it was not paying 100% of the fees as it's happening now. So that's one of the challenges, because you'll be given a bill at the end of the year, and they will tell you that you won't register for the following year if your parents did not settle their school fees, the tuition fee. But with all God's grace, I completed as I've indicated, and I'm not sure if I can continue with all my tertiary level that I went through.
No, let me just cut in there. I'm going to throw a spotlight on your challenges, because I want somebody to understand at the time that you peak or we get to the level where you are today, that it was not something just came easy, but there was a journey that you had to undergo. There were challenges that you came across on the way. Now, you have spoken about the inefficiencies at our foundational phase of education. Now, I want to take us to your tertiary institution to say that this is how, for example, the inefficiencies of my my lower level of schooling, that is both primary and high school schooling, affected me or manifested themselves when I get into tertiary institutions. Like, this reminds me, of course, of, I think it's either Julius Malema or Floyd Shibambo of EFF the other day, speaking about how difficult it was for them when they get to tertiary. In fact, it was about Floyd getting to tertiary institution, that it was difficult for him to follow what the lecturers were saying there, because it was just a huge step from the education that he was subjected to what he then was into, that is tertiary institution. With you, how did your inefficiencies at your lower level of schooling manifested themselves at tertiary institution?
Thank you so much. This was a very difficult thing that happened in my life. It was so devastating that you felt inferior, because you will rate even your intelligence because of your skills, your writing skills, English communication, even a listening skill. So because we had no proper English foundation, and the language in the university, they taught or they're teaching in English, you find that when you entered the class, until the whole period lapsed, you didn't hear much. That had caused us much to feel so inferior. And we thought we don't fit to be in the varsity, because we had no skills, listening skills, we had no writing skills. Now, when you had to write an assignment, it becomes so difficult. Sometimes even how we used to pass, you had to just cram things word by word in order to pass, because your understanding was so limited by the language. And there was not any phase that they put in varsity to say those who are coming from historical disadvantaged, they will have an English class just to start from their foundation, because the understanding is that if you have passed grade 12, then you have got an understanding, you have got the writing skills, and you will hear them. But that was a challenge until we completed our tertiary level. And I want to assure you that even today, I was telling others that if you managed to pass while you couldn't understand the language properly, you are indeed intelligent. I only realize now that I'm highly intelligent because I've managed to survive in an environment where I was competing with other kids who had a better foundation. But I had to survive to that difficult situation until I gained some confidence, until I learn on the way when I meet others, until I started to realize that I still to go back and understand the connection of sentences in English. And after that, where I try to self-learning, where I try to teach myself how to communicate, proper writing, uh, we used to pass by Madoda score because of our writing skill. But you realize later after tertiary, when now you are working and now you are improving English, that you are highly intelligent because now that's why you will manage to do things correctly, and you will show your intelligence that I can't be limited by language, but I can do right things. That's the only time where we started to feel better until today, where we feel better because we're of self-learning, learning from street, learning from TV. You know, this we must remember very well that during our time when we grew up, you'll find that in the community there's only one TV, which is black and white, and in order for you to see the picture while you are viewing that small TV in a distance of over close to 100 meters, because the whole youngster of community, they want to see this movie. You are there and you are just seeing through pictures. So the opportunities that today we have, like TV, internet, we had not these opportunities. And this is the only chances that now we can learn from YouTube, like this Love SA. Someone can learn something from it. We had not this opportunity. That's what I'm saying. We were seriously disadvantaged. Thank you.
I need to cut in just there. My co-host Ngobeni has just given me a go ahead that Kokwani, this is your day today. I don't know why he says it's my day, so I'm not taking over everything for myself. It is a mandate that I have from my co-host Moses Ngobeni. Ngobeni, Mr. Mashamba spoke of self-teaching. I want to focus on that just for now before we go on to our next commercial break. I'm privileged to know Mr. Mashamba even more than many think I do, to an extent that I must say at this stage that Mr. Mashamba is an admitted attorney with a law firm that is headquartered in Pretoria with branches in Polokwane and Mbombela in Mpumalanga. But we'll not touch more on that because we have got a special assignment to focus on specific areas of his career that we are coming into shortly. But when he speaks of self-teaching, after studying or completing his LLB, whilst he had his own practice, he went on to study Masters of Business Leadership degree at UNISA, MBL. Mr. Mashamba, I need you to speak about what you did, what you discovered, what you had to do to compensate for the challenges that you encountered, especially when it comes to the language of communication or language of instruction, English. There is a step that you took that you shared with me of that you said you had to go that route to make sure that you are not lagging behind in terms of your study progress.
Yes, thank you so much. Indeed, I assessed myself and I realized the potential that I have. And I also understood what is the cause. I diagnosed myself and I realized what is the cause of the problem. And I found out that the cause of the problem is my foundation, which means whether you can have a better vocabulary, but if you don't have a proper foundation of your English, it will be difficult to communicate or to mean exactly what you want to mean when you are communicating in English. And this will even affect you maybe when you are representing your clients in court, as you have indicated that I'm a practicing attorney. So I took a decision to register for an English course where I started from foundation, going up, and that has helped a big way because now I'm confident that I will open my eyes, and it gave me even confidence more because I know that what I'm saying, I mean it, not saying something else because of grammatical error. But now, because I've gone through that extra classes in English, now I can communicate. Now I can write. Now I can say exactly something that I mean. I know the past tense, past participle, adverb, and verb properly because I took a decision to go through that. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mashamba, I need to cut in that. Now, just to recap quickly before you take our break, I must put it exactly the way I will brutally state it. Mr. Mashamba, it was not an easy journey for him to get to where he is today, where we'll be picking at shortly, that he actually struggled with the English or the Queen's language to an extent that he felt so frustrated, but he did not allow frustration to take over his life. Hence, he decided that, let me do some self-diagnosis to find out exactly what the cause of all this is and how to go about it. And exactly as he stated, he diagnosed himself and he had to do what could not be done for him at the time when he needed it most. And more about Mr. Mashamba when we come from the other side of the commercial break. We are still with Mr. Elvis Mashamba, if you like, from, we can say from Mashamba Incorporated or Attorneys, headquartered in Pretoria, with branches in Polokwane, in the Limpopo province, and another branch in Mbombela in the Mpumalanga province. Mr. Mashamba was taking us through a journey of how he had to build himself to become Mr. Mashamba that he is respectfully is today. And I see Moses would want to have a question with Mr. Mashamba that he cannot help, and he has to throw that question at him on behalf of our audience that is made up of those that are listening to us, watching us through both Facebook and YouTube pages. For which loyalty, we thank you. And NGOBENI, it is your opportunity to have a bite on it.
Well, thank you so much, Kowan Magod. I did indicate in the very beginning that I'll be looking side by side as I listen to the two grandfathers. But before we move on any further, I thought to myself, This is a comment that I should not let slide away. You know, Kokwan Mashamba, as you were taking us through the difficulties that you went through, particularly in the foundation stages of your education, you sparked something that I found very much interesting. And I believe that our viewers would have taken this out of what you were sharing with us, that you have been tried and tested, particularly looking at the area in where you come from as an individual, having to come into an institution where there is, or where there are students from different walk of lives. You've been tried and tested. And I'm afraid by saying this, our government is going to catch some strays in this, because you have already been disadvantaged by the level of education that you were given or that was offered to you. And that is primarily because of the little concentration of resources in rural provinces as opposed to the more developed and or what we would call urban provinces. If we are to kind of dissect on this one for a moment, it becomes very obvious that in rural provinces such as Limpopo, the Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and others, there's very little concentration of resources in all areas, be it education, be it health, sports, arts, and culture, and the likes. And this is so evident because, to give you an example, like Gogwan Mashamba, on Tuesday, I happened to take a drive. And I was driving around looking at how the schools have been built and constructed, how far they are advanced to what an ordinary school would look like in Limpopo. And I want to pick your brain on this, having given that prefix. Do you think there's been any change between the period in which you undertook your foundational studies compared to today? And is that change somewhat significant to kind of place a learner who now has to transition into university, that they would be in a far much better position that you have been in?
Yes, thank you for that question. I would like to say it straight, that there's no change. And I think sometimes all of us, contributing to lack of change in rural areas, because it seems when we happen to be in urban areas, we start to be comfortable and even forget where we are coming from. Because I think this is not an issue to leave it to to government only. It's a matter of every person to contribute. I've got people who inspired me, even our host, Mr. Tembo Mangan. I happened to learn something from him. He, since around 2009, he has been supporting many students. Some, I think, they completed from different varsities. And he donated even laptops to different students. But the challenge, you find people who are coming from those areas, but when they want to donate, they also come and donate in Soweto. They also come and donate in Midrand. Without being ashamed, and I will say it directly that I've learned a lot from our host, Mr. Manganyi, and I even myself went back to the start. I started at the primary school where I'm coming from to donate the complete uniform from shoes and the whole uniform for both um, male and female children. So at all, there's no changes, and I think it's the time now we take a decision by intention, by we start relooking at taking the resources from here in urban areas back to rural areas. That's very important, because if we're not going to do that and we still think government will do something, they've been not doing anything for a period since democracy, since we attained democracy. So it's a very interesting issue to discuss about. I think for youth, we should not forget where we're coming from. And I think that can also influence government to see that we see the gap in rural areas. We
Yeah.
see that children in rural areas now they feel inferior compared to children who grew up in urban areas, like in Gauteng. So it's this we must understand it. And now when they have to write grade 12 examination, they need to be they get type of same type of examination, but others it's known that they're so disadvantaged, and which means the people who are around Gauteng, they get to have an opportunity to go to varsities when we're comparing to people coming from rural areas. So it's something that really we need to look at. Thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for that answer, Kokwan Mashamba. Moving along into the topic that Kokwan Manganyi wanted to get into, we seem to have a huge battle, or rather, that we need to strike balance between our fluency in English as well as preserving our indigenous languages, particularly for those of us from the northern provinces where we've now drawn this particular picture that the lack of foundational education is somewhat deeply disadvantageous for us when we have to go to into institutions of higher learning. And now Kokwan Manganya is introducing this topic to us that there seems to be a huge battle to find balance in preserving our own languages as well as being fluent in a language that is somewhat going to butter our bread the way we would want it to be buttered. Kokwan Manganya.
I think we need to move on to something else. My producer has just indicated something to me. We'll dispense with that part of our conversation. I want to move now on to. We know Mr. Mashamba is an attorney by profession, but we're not gonna get into what he does, in his legal profession. We have had a lot of that, and we see a lot of that happening on television, and not that I'm trying to insinuate like somebody would really say, oh, maybe he's just not into getting himself to think about some representation that we have seen, since we have access to courts through our television screens. But I need to ask to go to what he is currently into, and that is property development. Mr. Mashamba, we know you're doing well in private practice as an attorney, but now we want to get into your portfolios as a property developer. How did it start?
Thank you so much. As you even introduced that I went to register for Masters in Business Leadership at UNISA. That also taught me how to do business. In fact, I consider myself as a businessman because I started small by getting one property, which I got it dilapidated, but I made it new, and it attracted tenants to rent in that property. And that has given me an opportunity to realize that there is a business in property. So I started to go buying the second one, third one, fourth one, growing in my portfolio. And I also started, I made some properties as accommodation, and I developed other properties as a guest lodge. and I do different business in property. So what I do, which has helped me a lot, is to get a property which is a bit need an attention, and then I buy the property with a lesser amount, renovate it, and put people to rent. Those who are looking for short-term rentals and long-term rentals. That's how I grew in property. As a person who started with nothing, I reached a point where now um, I'm, I'm, I'm recognized even by different financial institutions in the country. But I started small from one property. Then that one property gave me a profile to get another property until where I am today as I'm growing. And my dream is to reach a point where I see the mall and this mall named in my name, because this is the time where we want to show that we were not limited by our historical background. Thank you so much.
And it's still Mr. Elvis Mashamba with us this evening as we take our next commercial break. And when we come back, we'll proceed with the line that we have just taken. But I'll take you back to a very interesting story that has got something to do with his first active association with a property when he opened his own practice. But more on that when we come back from the other side of the commercial break.
Are you ready for the ultimate dietary powerhouse? Look no further than Masana Dietitian's Nutro Boost. Our scientifically formulated low GI food is designed to give you the boost you need to fuel your body and reach your health goals. With NutriBoost, you have the flexibility to enjoy it as a high-fiber cereal or a satisfying shake. Simply mix it with water and indulge in the mouth-watering flavors that we have to offer. But that's not all. NutriBoost is packed with essential nutrients that are beneficial for your overall well-being. Enriched with 20 immune-boosting vitamins and minerals, it's a convenient and effective way to support your immune system. And here's the best part. NutriBoost is gluten-free, egg-free, and high in omega-3, making it suitable for those with dietary restrictions or allergies. Need an energy boost? NutriBoost has you covered. It's high in energy and protein, providing you with the fuel you need to power through your day. Whether it's a busy morning or an intense workout session, say goodbye to midday slumps and hello to sustained energy with NutriBoost. Try it today and experience the difference. For orders or to become a distributor, contact us on the following details.
I said when we come back from the other side of the break, which is this side, that I want to take Mr. Mashamba to back to when he opened his law practice in the CBD of Pretoria. Mr. Mashamba, you will remember, as you shared with me, that the day you got admitted as an attorney, the following day you went to open your own practice. You did not literally have a cent with you, but you opened, you secured a space. Battles did emerge that were there with a potential to frustrate your continuation with the operation of the practice. Can you share briefly, in less than a minute if you can, with our viewers, with our listeners, how you opened that office and the battles that came during the first month when you opened the practice, and how you emerged victorious in those battles?
Yes, indeed, it was not an easy thing. I had no money. I was just fresh from being admitted as an attorney in 2008, December. Then I had immediately to take my admission certificate with me While I have nothing much in my account, I only had 6,000. I had to approach the company to propose to rent an office around Church Square, Pretoria. And I was denied, rejected, but I didn't allow the barriers of those who were telling me that I have nothing, I won't make it. I happened to push, and until I get someone who helped me, that's how I started my law firm. Even after starting, I had not enough money monthly to pay for rent. All I tried it was to negotiate with the landlord until the time where the company could stand. It was not an easy thing, but when you believe on something, you will do everything to make sure that you accomplish your mission, you reach your destiny. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mashamba is an embodiment of the saying that where there is a will, there's always a way. He's just being more diplomatic and humble about it. He actually had to ask the property company to give him a space, and he convinced them with the certificate of admission that he had, and they gave him the space. But halfway through the month, because I was there, I'm a witness to that. Halfway through the month, when he was coming back from court, he was surprised, in fact, shocked to find that his office was locked. And upon further inquiries from the landlord, they said, we can't let you proceed. And but silver-tongued as he is and determined as he is, he got them to open the office. And now, as we speak, that office has got law firm has got three offices that is headquartered in Pretoria, with branches, as I said earlier on, in Mpumalanga and Limpopo, that is at Mbombela and Pulukwana, respectively. But now we want to find out, Mr. Mashamba, what are the challenges, because definitely they are there, that you encountered and continue to encounter in the property market as a Black person with a vision to pick at owning a mall named after yourself?
It's obvious that the challenge it will be resources. If you are a Black person, you need to prove yourself first to different stakeholders that you have got wisdom to reach certain destiny, or you have got a business mind. So the time I started in my business, I was not recognized even by financial institutions. But I'm happy today, so thrilled that by the fact that when you build yourself from your qualifications, because I want to state that I've got different qualifications, and with that plus your portfolio, your investment, there's no way you will be ignored. So by building a proper portfolio, before that, you won't be recognized. There will be many questions before, maybe if you need financial help, they will ask you many questions. And indeed, they're not going to help you. But until you prove yourself, until you prove to them that you are capable to do great things without their help. So I've managed to be where I am without the help of any financial institutions. I started from the little money that I had to build the business, and they could see through financial statement that the business of this man is standing. And now I know, because of my qualifications and my business ideas, that I'm recognized everywhere. I'm a free man today. Thank you.
And that is still Mr. Elvis Mashamba with us this evening. And I must also recap that this is Mr. Elvis Mashamba, who struggled immensely in expressing himself in the Queen's language. And that should teach us or make us realize that to make it in life, it takes self-realization of who you are and where you are headed to. It does not take the ability and the competency and the fluency with which you speak the English language. Ngobeni, I need to give you a chance to say something or to ask Mr. Mashamba something.
Look, we agreed when we started the show, Kwan, and we've placed that before our viewers that I am going to let you flow with this one. But I believe that so far, our viewers and our listeners from all four corners of South Africa would have at least got this, that today's show veered a bit differently from the ordinary course that we do. In as much as we are here as an online radio platform, we do things differently. What we do is we try to stay away from your mainstream radio and engage with our guests in ways that has never been explored before. And if anything, I want our guests, I want our viewers to take away from today's show is that Mr. Mashamba is an embodiment of resilience, is an embodiment of self-actualization. He's a beacon of hope to what would ordinarily be called a hopeless situation. And that is what we want our viewers to take out of this, that you can come back from anything that life throws at you. There is no one who is born with a determined future. There is no one who is born with something that is already set apart there for them. He fought through his struggles. And having said this, I need to acknowledge a comment that just came through from Ntombi Mtsonga, whom we happened to be on the line with shortly before we started the show. In fact, we'll be making a mistake if we do not acknowledge her, because today's show is actually inspired by her. And she goes on to say, success starts with self-realization. And this is what we see today in Mr. Mashamba. Thank you so much, Ntombi Mtsonga, for that reminder. We acknowledge that. So that is what I want our viewers to take out of this today, that self-realization is what you need, that determination. If you have a dream, you are the only person who has that dream, and there's no one else who's going to support it. Yes, they will support it once they see it taking off and holding into altitude. But from ground down, when you still have to run the ground, work the ground, you need to have that self-realization and go on with it.
You know, Ngoben, you said something that that has got something to do with always bouncing back from whatever life throws at you. Mr. Mashamba, you will remember the first property you wanted to associate yourself with was a property somewhere at Juvelworth in Centurion. You were declined that property. You know, when I drive past that nowadays, it still stands there like a church, you know, an old church, a missionary church. And I look at it and say, oh, how time flies. But you are cutting short, Mr. Mashamba. If you were to say something in less than 30 seconds to our viewers, because we are running out of time, what would you say? Something that we'll never ask you, something that we never said during this show, that you want to say that, you know, if I don't say this, I don't think I would have been fair to the viewers and the listeners for this show, Love SA.
I would like to say to all youth of South Africa and Ntombi Mtsonga and everyone who's listening, don't be stopped by anything. Whether any person who will disregard you or undermine you, you must be a person with vision, and you should not allow anyone to put barriers to you. We are all equal. We have equal opportunities. Let's all participate to the economy of the country. I didn't allow the system to close doors for me.
Yeah.
As you were saying, that I wanted to buy another house other time, which I was the application was rejected. But today, they want me all corners of this nation. They want my participation in the economy of this nation. So it's out of a strive. You push for yourself to reach your destiny. And thank you to everyone.
That is Mr. Elvis Mashamba, and that's how we come to an end to today's beautiful edition of Love SA through Bold Moves Radio. We want to extend our word of gratitude to our viewers, to our technical team, and everybody who made this a show possible. And of course, a special thank you to Ntombi Mtsonga, who gave us wings to fly across the beautiful sky of South Africa today as we come to you live on air this evening. NGOBENI, thank you for your beautiful co-hosting. Good evening.
Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana, oh Afrika nakupenda sana.